Welcome to the Mistress Paintbrush. Today we're going to paint up the largest flyer for the Space Wolf, Stormwolf. Hello everybody and welcome back. Alright, here's time for sub-assemblies for the Stormwolf that I'm putting together. There are plenty of sub-assemblies for this unit. Alrighty, so let's get into actually putting them all together. Now I primed them using Style Res Primer. I did do a gray on everything, and what I'm going to do now is called panel lining. And panel lining is a pre-painting where you're just going to get the panel edges where the places are going to show the most wear and tear on the model, and you're going to make them darker than everything else. Now that looks absolutely horrendous, but don't worry about that. The paint that we're going to put on top of this is transparent, and it's just going to make it look darker in the recesses. So it's just a technique that I've been using for planes and everything else when I was younger, so it's just transferring over into my wargaming stuff. And here are a lot of the panel lines getting done. I even do the underneath part as well. So let me show you how I did that. Just hitting the panels in itself, going easily across the line, keeping it steady. Now, if it's not perfect, that's okay. You know, this hobby isn't about perfection. So, and in fact, unusual wear and tear is how normal things wear and tear. Nothing actually wear and tears evenly or erodes evenly. There are patterns sometimes, but it's usually just because of the shape of the water that's eroding it or the shape of the wind that is blasting it, that'll just shape it in different kind of ways. So, you know, there isn't exact symmetry in life, so why should there be in your painting skills as well? Alrighty, so there we go. We're going to start up with some cold gray, and what we're going to do is going to base coat this like I would base coat any of one of my Space Wolves. So I'm going to start off with that cold gray, and we're going to actually add some highlights to it using the same colors you would use to base my Space Wolves. So we have that, and it's really just bringing little pieces up. It's all about just bringing up. And you got to see it. You really don't see it in the camera this angle, but I'm going to just turn this piece when I'm done with this panel so you can actually see the glossiness right there. Yeah, just barely. It's just bringing it up. You can also erase any stray black lines by using this methodology. So I mean, have at you. You know, feel free to be able to make mistakes so this way you can erase them later. That's fine. It's better to do and to ask for an apology than to ask for permission and never get done at all. Alright, so stream highlights, and you can use any white here, but it's a very diluted white, and I'm just going to get the center of the panels to really make it pop. So in order to do that, let me show you how to do that. It's very, very diluted and low pressure, so very diluted, just really taking it easy, adding control to it, and you see how light it's coming out. Now you really don't mean like it's a lot coming out, but just doing the spots in the middle, and it just adds to the contrast of the miniature. So I really try to pump up the contrast, because what you notice on a miniature is how striking it is, how it mesmerizes you, and how to mesmerize the eye when you're looking at any piece is to up the contrast to 23, whatever. If it's a scale from 1 to 10, up the contrast to 23, and you will see that model from across the room. And that's what you want. You want people to look at your work. I mean, you're looking at your work for how long when you're creating it, so you want other people to look at it. So next we're going to go with the heavy blue gray, just right over the model, and what we're doing is just tying everything in. Just a really, really translucent coat over everything. You don't want to go too heavy here. You don't want to obliterate all that nice undershading that we did, all the highlightings that we've done, the panel linings. You don't want to ruin any of that. You just kind of just want to blend it in, so this way it just looks like it's all one piece and it's not too stark. The transitions aren't too stark. When transitions are too stark, you actually see lines in it, and it's completely not what you're aiming for. You kind of want smooth blends for the most part, unless that is what you're aiming for, then have at you if that's what you're aiming for. Alrighty, so if you look at these here, I'm going to do now some Werewolf Grey, and this is what I use. I use Werewolf Grey. That is the primary color for my Space Wolves. Now, after all this undershading and all the gray tones that I put in there, it's just going to add that blue hue to it. And I just think that that blue hue underneath all these coats of gray really make it look like an aged kind of Space Wolf paint. Now, if you were just going to paint them straight blue, I don't like the way it looks like that. I like to add dimension to my paint jobs, so that's why I do the undershadings. This is why I do zenithal highlighting. This is why I do a lot of techniques and everything that I've learned in order to, you know, add variety to this. Now, if you look at this panel here, I went all out on this panel. And most of it you're not really going to see. And I'm that type of person that actually does the back panels that people are not going to see to the nines only because I want to increase my skill. Like, the more practice I get, the better I get. So why wouldn't I do the panels, even if people are not going to see it? But you know what? It's on YouTube, so now other people see it. So, hey, I wonder, do you paint things that people are not going to see? And then just like, because you know it's there, you have to paint it? And if you do, hey, I'm that way too, so you're not alone. If not, then hey, you're so much better than me because you probably get your miniatures painted a lot quicker than I do. Alright, so finally what I'm going to do is just print it down. I did use a different yellow, and I kind of want to dye that down, so I'm just going to use this orange shade to get some of that yellow orangey, just to add the variety in the buttons that I have here, because I do have a lot of buttons. And I really do want the buttons to be varied and change up in the color. So I use all kind of shades and stuff like that to just throw it off. Why not? You know, have some fun with it. Part of the fun of the hobby for me when it comes to paint is to play with the paint, to actually use the paint. Now, that'd be like a no-brainer, right? You have all these paints, you use them, but you don't use them all in one shot. You know, you have 1,000 different paint pots. You're not going to paint one button 1,000 different colors, you know. I mean, if you do, man, oh my goodness, I can't imagine. I cannot imagine. So that I mean, it's in the realm of possibility. Yes, it is in the excess of wasting how many countless hours doing that. And how much drops of paint. I don't know. But I certainly don't use all my paint. So sometimes I look for excuses to use a paint color that I've never tried before. It's like, hey, let's just throw this on it and see what it looks like. And usually it pays off big time, just experimenting. And there are some times where I'm like, what in the world was I thinking? But in those instances, I do have a pocket color wheel here on the side of my paint booth, so I can always refer to it, so I can see the complementary colors and triads and all this good stuff that you can learn in art school or learn through YouTube with somebody teaching color theory. Now, I am no professor of color theory, so I'm not even going to go there. So, but have a color wheel, read your color wheel, because there's usually a lot of information in there that tells you about all this stuff. And you find things that are pleasing, or just, you know, look at inspirational pictures from I use Pinterest sometimes, I use Cool Mini or Not sometimes, I use all kinds of references, Google searches, that helps too. Alrighty, so now I'm just going to glue this cockpit in. Gotta be careful how you say that word. And just make sure that it really, really lines up. And the part of this, and what I'm going to do is it's just I'm putting the pieces that are not congealed, and I'm just like dipping it into the glue, so this way it just makes that solid bead completely around. And there it is, paneled up again, mostly in shadow, but that's okay. And I was feeling a little bit patriotic, so I did his breathing apparatus in red, white, and blue. So there you go. Just the way I feel. I think it's coming out pretty well. And another joy of the hobby is actually taking gray plastic and making it look what I feel is cool. All right, time to use this model wash. And I'm using... Now I tend to use either a model wash with an ink and a paint, and some flow aid. Usually that is a mixture that's great. So, and doing panel lining, that is. And I panel line just about everything now. One of the viewers said, hey, you know what you should do? You should really put a wash on some of your miniatures. I'm like, okay, I kind of do, but I just like to control my shadows than rather dump my entire miniature in a wash. I mean, that's just me. I like to know where the shadows are and where the highlights are, and I can purposely put things in places instead of just randomly putting them in placing and sopping up the leftovers. But it does stain the entire model just a little bit if you're not careful. So that's why I don't like dip my miniatures in wash. I kind of just control it. I love pin washes. I'm a big fan and a big proponent of pin washing, because pin washing is actually controlling where your wash is going to go. It's really important. Alright, now this is the Mechanicus symbol. I do one side white, one side black, and then I just paint the bone in the middle for that skeleton that's in the middle. There you go. It's very, very simple to do a shoulder pauldron on this guy. So I'm very, very happy with that. And you can do the shoulder pauldron yellow or something like that, but I just left it to blue. It's just me. Alright, so time to paint that middle bone color. And you know what I like to do? I kind of like to go up to a brown and then paint it sometimes ivory and then paint it bone color. And you could dry brush if you want to. There's so many bone recipes out there. There's literally a lot of things that you can actually do to create different kind of bone effects. And I am not preaching that I know the best way to do it. Nope. No siree. I am not that dude that says I'm better than anybody else and this is the way to do it. Nope. But all of those ways are pretty cool. And I keep on switching it up. Like, I'll try using it with peanut butter instead of using charred brown and as a base, and I just throw it all together. Like, I don't have one set way of doing anything, really. I just keep playing around until I feel I'm happy with it. I'm like, hey, that's cool. And then I see something else, and I'm like, oh, I want to try that. And I just try it. Done. Right? And see what happens, you know. I test the waters. You know who I'm talking about there. I test the water sometimes, and just to make sure that everything is copacetic before I move on. But yeah, this pilot was actually fun to paint. I never painted someone sitting before. Well, I painted pilots sitting before. I meant I never painted a space wolf sitting before, or a 30K model sitting in a cockpit before. I could say a Age of Sigmar, I painted him sitting on a horse. I don't think that's the same thing. He's actually sitting in an L position, which is kind of interesting. But so it's like a little different, because I don't know how comfortably he would be in all that armor sitting on what seems to be a metal chair. I don't know. Alright, so of course I forgot to do a panel. So I'm just going to do the panel in the front right there. Before I attach the arms, actually the arms are in. Before I attach the glass, in there, I am actually painting up the screens. You can see it's just that green screen. I do like that green screen, only because it reminds me when I was growing up and PCs were like nothing and they had that green screen. Sometimes they had that black screen with green lettering, and I learned DOS. That's how I learned. I was learning DOS when I was young. So some of you newer folk here may not know what DOS is, but it's just a original operating system before Windows came out, and just held your files and ran scripts with exe files. And I'm just getting geeky on you. As if this hobby wasn't geeky enough, I'm getting geeky on you, just like pulling it up to the next level. Right there. Alrighty, so just getting some burnt iron now, and just really having some fun with some burnt iron. And I'm going to do these las cannons. I really like las cannons. I love the reach on a las cannon, because being hell blasters these days are blasting the heck out of me, exactly what they say they were going to do. So I can't really be mad at them for being what they are, which is pretty darn good. But if I can get some las cannon blast in there and really dwindle down on their firepower, in an army, then I would definitely take that opportunity, and I really do like las cannons for that. So I'm very happy that this has las cannons, and I can't even imagine me taking anything else. I mean, yeah, you got your missiles, but I got the missiles on the side sponsons, so I'm not really worried about the missiles reaching. Plus, I think las cannons have better accuracy, maybe? I don't know. They definitely have a longer reach, in my opinion. They can reach right across the board and like, hey. Alright, time to do this little wolf on top. And I do that wolf, and then what I do is I dry brush the wolf into a little bit of white. And I think I did that off camera because dry brushing is, well, I mean, I do it all the time, so nothing new under the sun, folks. It's just, it's just dry brushing. Which means you just get your brush nice and dry, and when you think it's dry, you know, dry your brush even more with the paint. Alright, so heavy gold brown. I'm going to use heavy gold brown as the basis for all the gold trim that you're going to see on the Space Wolf here. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to do the actual pits that are going to be gold, and I'm pre-painting them or base coating them into that almost peanut butter color, and I really do like that. There is a peanut butter color. It's just a fun color if you think about it. It's just like, I'm just gonna have peanut butter color. Alright, so gold on top. Once you've gotten that nice heavy gold brown down, you just got to hit everything else with gold. Now you can use gold with pale burnt iron metal if you want to, just to make it brighter, or if you want to make it more on the red spectrum, then you're going to want to add some like coppers or any kind of red metal to it, and that definitely helps. But here I just wanted to go for straight gold, and I'm doing all the little rivets throughout the entire plane. And I am not going to bore you with every single rivet, so there. We'll go on and do just the accents, and I'm going to do all the gold pieces, actually, all the gold trim for this entire top, which is, I mean, a lot of fun because the gold really reflects, so it really makes it start popping and coming to life. Right now it seems a bit dull to me, and I'm just going to take it up. Alright. So, just getting that gold done. You can see a big, huge difference right there. And my big old nose in the way. Sorry about that. And sometimes the nose gets in the way. I'm actually working on getting... actually, I have a lot of different camera setups that I'm going to do and play around with when it comes to modeling. Only because I usually paint with a... camera, DSLR, big old chunky DSLR, literally in front of my face, and I have to work around it to paint. And I can tell you, when you do that, your painting quality actually suffers because of it. So, you know, I don't want to make my painting quality suffer on the channel, and I want to give you my very best. I noticed that when I'm not recording, I actually paint better than when I'm recording, only because I do have a honking camera right in my face, and it's kind of hard to paint that way and feel natural and do your best. Alright, next up I wanted to show you how I did this bottom. I'm really proud of it. This bottom kind of silver, like, I guess gravis, I don't know what to call it. Flotational thingies. It's just gray bits on the bottom that seem metal, and I use a combination of painter's tape, and you can use frog tape, or you can use duct tape has one, and there's all kinds. It doesn't really matter. I mean, frog tape's supposed to be the best, so if you want to go for the best, then use frog tape. But I use whatever, and I get this effect. Just laying it down, and what painter's tape is really good for is getting a straight edge. Like, really a straight edge. So I wanted this to be a straight edge, that's what I did. But there are pieces in the middle that I have to mask over. And when you want to do different kind of irregular shapes, then silly putty is your friend when it comes to masking. That's right, silly putty. And it really gets into the contours of what it is that you're trying to paint. Now, I use this all the time. So if you've seen other videos that I've done, you must have seen me using silly putty as a masking agent. And here I'm using both of them together. And I'm using a sculpting tool. This is a clay sculptor, or clay shaper, and it's in the metal type. And I'm just getting in there and spreading around the silly putty using a tool so I can accurately spread it around better than if I just use my finger and splob it in there. Now, you don't need to use this tool. Toothpicks or any kind of wooden dowel would work. I don't know. There's so many things you can use. As long as it's small and you could fit it in there. And I guess delicate enough that you don't ruin it. Ruin the like poke a hole in your ship or something like that. All right, you can use any kind of dark aluminum or dark color or jet exhaust in order to do this. It doesn't really matter. It's up to you and your taste. It's just a dark metallic. And if you don't have a dark metallic, you can actually infuse your... If you don't have a dark metallic, you can infuse your bright metallic with darker colors, like inks would work for me. I don't know. I would play around with adding color to your pigment, to your metallic paints to get the consistency you want, because I really wanted a very, very dark metal here, and it just works. Look how quickly you do it too once you mask it off. And I think that color looks amazing. I'm really happy about it. What a lot of people don't know, though, when it comes to masking, if you leave it on there, this is a paper product, that tape, and it'll start soaking up the paint, and then it'll get bleed through onto your model. You don't want that. So I wait about 5 to 10, no more than 10 minutes, like I did here, and then I just pull it off. I just pull it off while it's still not completely dry, because I'm not giving it an opportunity to soak through into that paper masking tape and then just soak onto whatever miniature part that I'm going on. Sometimes you got that paint overflow because you left the paint on for too long. That's a no-no. You're going to want to just take it off after like the 5 to 10 minute mark, 10 being the most, and 5 being seems to be a sweet spot, 5. And look at that. Look at the results. I couldn't be happier with those kinds of results when it comes to making metal pieces. Look metal. Look metal. I mean, really. You can't really beat it. And, oh man, it's so good. It's so good. I'm so happy when my idea turns out pretty good. And it took a very little bit of effort in order to do it. It wasn't insane to get it like that. I used the appropriate tool. I was just careful. I took my time, and I did it right. And speaking of taking time, I don't care how long a model takes me to build. I mean, sure, I have a backlog, and I'd love to get my models painted, but I will not compromise on the quality of my model just for the sake of getting it done. Just not me. Alrighty, so there it is, looking really great. I dry brushed that wolf in the front. I did that off screen because dry brushing is just taking a very soft brush, dipping it into a paint, and then putting it on a dry surface and keep wiping it and wiping it and wiping it. And just when you thought you finished wiping it, wipe it some more, and then finally you can put it onto your miniature by just lightly breezing it over, and it'll catch just the tips of the details that are on the ship. So next I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pigment that I grinded down myself in pastel colors with a mortar and pestle, a small little one. I think I got from Marshall's in the home goods section. And then what I did was I put them in these little containers, and I use them as pigments, just weathering pigments that I'm going to use for these steps, because these steps cannot be clean. I don't know how many people walked up them. Alrighty, getting jet exhaust to put on your jet exhaust, and then building your jet exhaust. So that's what we're going to be doing, putting jet exhausts in. Alright, so let's just take this jet exhaust here and just get the sides there, any kind of parts where I believe I missed, just like a quality control kind of thing, where I keep going back onto my miniatures to making sure that I got everything the way I think it's right. I can't say perfect, but I can say it to where I'm happy, which I have high standards when it comes to my own work, and I am my own worst critic. And I know that's cliche-ish, but it's very true. I will badger myself if I don't get something right, like, oh man, that's wrong, oh man, that's wrong, oh man, that's wrong. I just keep going on and on. Alright, time to put on those jet exhausts on the bottom. And they go on with real ease. It's really easy to put together most of this model, I have to say. Later on I may encounter something that's a little hairy there. But for the most part, it goes on really well, and I'm very happy with it. Especially because these things are facing different ways, and it looks like it's actually trying to get the terrain and the lay of the land, and just applying the right pressure at the right point in order to land. I think that's amazing that they went to such length with such detail with it. So comes out great. Do you know this is the Stormwolf after all? If you don't know about Stormwolf, let's talk about the weapons and painting things brown before you paint them yellow. I'm just doing the tips of the missiles there in yellow. That means I first paint them in brown and then I bring them up to yellow. So the Stormwolf, this build here, combines breathtaking speed with the freedom of altitude, swiftly closing in on its prey, setting loose a deadly cargo of Space Wolves, Astartes, or Terminators amongst the army, and then bringing to bear sufficient firepower to ensure their line-in is uncontested, while providing the necessary fire support afterwards, even during the adverse atmospheric conditions. The mission is taken without complaint. Any damage taken is shrugged off is inconsequential, as the Iron Priests guide their craft into the landing zone safely, even when the engines are aflame and weapon systems are destroyed. Enemy craft has never fared so well. Those that dare try to bar the Space Wolves' path discover that despite their roles as armored transports, these hulking gunboats pack a devastating punch. As each such foe plunges away in flame, the Iron Priest raise a victorious howl. Their cry echo in their battle-hungry passengers. The wolf's head silhouette on the Stormwolf strikes fear into the hearts of any enemy that it faces, the Sons of Russ. For the presence of such a craft can only signal the imminent arrival of some of the deadliest warriors in the Imperium. Such foreboding is not without good cause, for the Stormwolf is the favored transport of the Bloodclaws, bloodthirsty Space Wolves warriors, who are renowned for not holding back once committed to battle. And these are the missiles. They are complete, and this is magnetized. So, the Stormfang gunship replaces the large part of Stormwolf Troop Bay with the Hellfrost Destructor. So this is a variant. The Stormfang gunship is a variant when it has a honking ship right in the middle. So there are notable Stormwolf Assault Boats, and yes, there are boats. It's a dedicated transport for the Bloodclaws mainly, and Jarek is the notable craft tasked with transporting Elk Severingsson Bloodclaw pack into the rage of battle, and it bears a symbol of a raving jaw on its flank, marking it out as a part of the Herald of the Death Wolf. So that's kind of cool. That it has different companies. All right, time for yellow. And yellow, I do the tribal markings here, black tribal markings. And I paint the yellow first for the simple reason is that you don't want to paint over black, especially a light color. You just don't. You'll be there forever. So paint the light color first and then worry about black, especially black, because black can cover just about any color there is. In fact, it'll cover all the colors because it's the lack of color. So it just completely takes the color out. There you go. So if you go to paint yellow and black tribal markers, paint the yellow first. It's so hard to paint over black, so don't waste your life. You can't get that time back. So I paint it with a base coat yellow, and then I go back and hit it with a lighter color yellow, and you can do any kind of yellows you want. Just your yellow. And this is the color that I like personally for my Space Wolves, but I can't say it's the right color. So, just play around with your yellows and see what you like. I like to do a darker yellow and then highlight it with a lighter yellow, and usually it gives me the effect that I want, like this. Alright, so now time to show you how to do the tribal markings. What I did was I took some masking tape and I cut off one little square from the square tip there. And I used the ruler, and then I'm just going to lift it up, and I'm going to show you how I did it. I have a square here, and that's what I have there. And all I have to do is just go to them, find out where the middle of the sticker is, and then go to the ends and create that diamond shape right there. Then I'm going to just reuse, and then usually what I do is I'll just take a micron pen, right, like this one, and just draw the outline of that. Go around the actual thing and draw the outline. Now I'm using Stynylrez, the primer. Yes, I'm using the primer because it's self-leveling, and it's one honking great bit of black. I love it. It's so flat and so fun just to make and paint with and to work with. So I do that. Now I do thin it down quite a bit, so it takes me a while to build up this black, but eventually I just gotta get it and go around. And again, I'm having fun painting these tribal symbols, making it come to life, adding on this unique flavor to it. And yeah, I am taking my time, because look how much dark that is. So you're gonna have to paint it like 4 to 5 times to get that there. And, you know, the thinner it is, the more coats you put on, the less brush strokes you're going to see, and the better it looks, in my opinion, while close up. Alrighty, time for some burnt iron, and I'm just going to go around the inlets for the rockets, the propulsion system. There you go, rockets, my eye. Alright, so I'm just going to go around there and just hand paint it. And I really do like Vallejo metal color. Their pigment and their metallics are so good because they're so finely grounded and so detailed, densely pigmented, that it's just a dream to work with. Alrighty, just going to put this sucker on now that it's done. Again, I work in a lot of sub-assemblies, so I don't, mess around with putting a whole bunch of stuff and masking everything everywhere I go. So doing it this way helps, and not having gaps is even better. Dry fit everything before you know what you're going to put in subassembly and what you're not going to be putting in subassembly. Try to get an idea how fit pieces would work, so you're not just like jumping into something and saying, oh, I'll just do whatever, and then it just doesn't turn out your way, and then you're no longer enjoying the hobby process. You kind of just want to keep the enjoyment up, so you want to be successful, small little things at a time. Now just gluing on these jet exhausts, and I believe the color is jet exhaust, and that's what they are, so it was just appropriate to be able to use that. And I think about that for a second, like, I think that the paint that I used to color them are jet exhaust, so that's ironic, don't you think? A little too ironic, but I really do think it's like rain on the wet. No, it's not. Okay, so one's on, and I'm going to get the other one on as well. Here's that it completed, so it's like an interesting little flying pack. That's what it looks like. And of course I did the buttons, and I do the buttons the same way I do all my buttons, so I'm not going to bore you to death with the same thing over and over and over and over again. I know I get sick of recording it because it happens so many times, and I'll refer you back to stuff if you need it. Stuff. Alright, so now time to glue on these wings. Now, I knew this one chap, actually Baza, who told me that, I should be careful not to glue these wings on backwards. But man, I've been painting scale modeling since I was 10 years old. And I've been matching tread marks on tires that are smaller than you can small. And I've been doing that for a very long time as well. So, not a problem. I pay attention to the details. I'm not going to glue these suckers inside up and backside down. So, no worries there, bud. Alrighty, there it is. It is just on like that monkey, that's donkey. And there's the other one, completely built. Looking great. Couldn't be happier. Alright, so next up, what you're going to do is you're going to put some sky blue, and we're going to get some blue ink, and what we're going to do is we're going to just create a frost tone to these. So we're just going to create a frost tone just by building up that color right there. And then I experiment with another color, which you'll see soon. It's actually a reddish color, and the reason why I do that is because this is blue, so I want to kind of contrast it, but I do want it to fit into the theme. So instead of regular paint, I actually use Vallejo metal color paint, which will be coming up shortly. But right now I have to get that glow in there. Glowing. So that's what I'm doing here. Now time to get that copper, trying to get that warm back in. Just really, I went too far cold and everything is just dead, and then, you know, that's no fun. You kind of just want to be careful with that, not kill everybody off, you know. Especially with your, like, if you're making a narrative or something like that, you don't want to just kill everybody off. So there you go. All right. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I think the copper is really, really good because it's a red and everything else is blue. And if you look on the color wheel, like blue is adjacent to red, adjacent on the opposite side of. So there we go. In a triad, it would work. I'm just talking about color theory. There are better people who put color theory into perspective. I highly recommend you check out their sites, but get a color wheel so you can refer to it, so you know why colors clash and other colors are complementary and make things pop. And believe me, you want to make things pop, because if people notice your models, the more people are looking at your models. That's pretty cool. You know, all that hard work is appreciated and you are validated, but if not, you're chasing something. And if you're chasing something, why not grab every opportunity you possibly can and paint stuff up? That's always been my theory. Like, whenever I'm like feeling unmotivated, just paint stuff up. Just to kick myself in the butt with that. All right, time to glue these side pieces on, these cold side pieces on with the pipes, and see how it works. Now, I edge highlight this because I've edge highlighted before in other videos. I'm not going to bore you to death with edge highlighting, and then edge highlighting, and then edge highlighting. So I'm going to say that I edge highlighted that. I'm using a cider brush, and I use inks along with paint, a flat paint, and then I actually use flow aid, so this way I can get the control that I want. I can get it flowing, and I can actually do all the edge highlighting without an issue. Alrighty, there they are. I do like twin Hellfrost cannons. I think they came out really nicely. I'm very proud of those. Alright, time for the center console here, which definitely is paint in the middle. I don't know if anybody's going to see it, but yeah, you know, I don't paint because of other people going to see it. I paint because I enjoy painting immensely, and I love sharing it. That's what I love doing. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, time to put on these Hellfrost cannons and really spruce it up. Really do like that. That's great. And you have to be careful with these cannons, only because the top is a little rinky-dink. And so when you put on the top, when you secure all these pieces, you gotta be careful that it just fits right. I would say there's no gaps to this model, but I'd be lying, so I'm not gonna say it. There are gaps to these models, but they're nothing you can't work around. Like, if you're a modeler, I mean, you got this in the bag. Like, really, you don't have to worry about it at all. But if you're your average Joe, hi, I'm your average Joe. Yeah, you do have to worry about it. So, I'm a bit cautious like that. And although I've learned a lot of things, I mean, still, I'm a bit cautious. Alrighty. Twin frost cannons. Aiming at you. Ready to roar. It looks great. Look at all the detail I got there, and look at all the detail that comes with it. So it's just game workshop, you know. Alright, time to put the top on to the entire assembly over here. So we're just going to glue the top on and get that glue on. There it is. The glue is on. Time to get that top. Now, where did I put that top? No, let's spread out some more glue. Where did I put that top? It has to be over here somewhere, right? So let me just take a look. Yep, there it is. Yep, pretty cool stuff there. Indeed. Alright, next up is the engine. And boy, this engine give me problem upon problem upon problem. I've tried so hard to get that engine to work. Finally settled in on chopping it to bits before I put it in there. And here's the Fenris 1. If ever a license plate, Fenris 1 would actually be a cool one. So, I would like that anyway. And then what we have is we have us putting the pieces together. Now this should be definitely an adventure, as it always is. So let's just take a look. There goes the panel lining, looks great. The lower gravis part is looking great. And then we're going to put this up on top, which also looks great. I'm going to glue one half first and the other half later. And that's just how the dresses come. So just attack one half first and the other half later. And there it is. Here's one half complete. Just waiting for that other half to put in. And trying to get everything in. That engine was such a pain to put in. So again, just sizing it up and putting it up. And I like the way it goes in there. You just have to be very, very careful with it. So if you're building one of these, be careful with it. Notice that you're going to be playing around with gaps. That's right, gaps. Because after I put this together and it looks pretty straight, and I made sure I have a level surface and all that other good stuff, it didn't work out too well for me. Right? And that engine really got in the way of everything. So I tried and I tried and I tried to finagle it, but it just didn't work. It just didn't work. I don't know what to do. So let's see. It's the back door here that's the culprit, because it really doesn't line up unless the engine is taken out. So I took out the engine, and then I chopped it up into little slivers, and then the little slivers I reconstructed it and brought it to bear over there in the middle, and that made it work. So I don't recommend you do it that way. I recommend you chop it up to begin with. That'd be your easiest bet. But yeah, this thing here is way too big for it to be inside that ship. That's it, period. You can fit it in there if you want to, but you're gonna have 1 inch of room, if that. That's all you get. Oh, finally. Alright, so I got this on, and this is Fenris number 1, which reminds me of my license plate, my New York one license plate. So I thought it was a lot of fun. Que divertido. That's how you say it in Spanish. Que divertido. Oh, what fun. Alrighty. So, getting that tacked on into place. Yep. Looks great. Now, what I did was I left the front door open for this model, so you can literally open it up, and nobody opens it up, so I just leave it the way it is. I do. Oh, goodness. Oh. Yep, there it is with the computer. I wanted to show you the computer's actually in there before I chop it up into bits here. Alright, and then there's the front door, which I'm very, very proud of, because I think it came out phenomenally. Look at that. Look at the detail that I put on that. I'm very happy with it. Absolutely. I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful that people get into costumes, even in today's day and age. It takes a lot of bravery, especially in warm weather. My goodness, you could pass out from heat stroke or something like that. Why would I subject myself to that level of uncomfortability? That's ridiculous. So, yeah. Alright, just making sure, using a lot of glue on this and making sure it does not come out at all, ever come out. I don't want it to ever come out. So I put in a lot of glue, and I'm just going to set this here on top. I'm just putting it on top, and look how it's coming together. It really is coming to life. I'm very happy with that. If anything, my favorite part is when the miniature actually comes to life, and you knew all the work that you had to put into it and where it went and how it went. So there you go. And a lot of this process that I do personally is to work in sub-assemblies. So I'll have a car or something like that, or I'll have another model in a whole bunch of sub-assemblies, and I'll put all those sub-assemblies into a bin, and then when I can get back to it, I get back to it with full vengeance. So it doesn't stay, in the backlog for too long. I do keep a steady movement, although I don't care how long it takes, but the fact that I'm always working towards something is important to me. Alrighty, now just doing the gun turrets, the dual frost cannons, and what we're going to do is going to put that on top right there. Now it's a pretty tight fit, so I didn't think I needed glue, but I don't care. I'm not taking any chances, so I glued that sucker down. And it really is a great artifact. It really, really is. To have, like the twin frost cannons and the las cannons to boot. Just happy, happy, joy, joy. And just throw some missiles in there for fun with the side things, and you'll be great. Alright, time to use Tamaya's clear plastic window maker. And you're not making any windows, but you're gluing in window products without leaving any streaks whatsoever, or without leaving any kind of residue coming from your super glue or anything like that. And yeah, this is the bombs, the bee's knees, the bomb.com, the exalted one. And if nothing else, walk away with used testers models. Definitely, it's worth it. Testers window maker, that is. Testers window maker. Very, very good stuff. And you're going to see, because I'm just going to set this into place like boop. Right there. And I'm just trying to let it dry. And it does very quickly. Now, I almost forgot, when it comes to the window, yes, you got to put the window up, but you also have to put up a center console piece right there. And then you would have to go, and then you're gonna have to let's see, put on those wings. That's right. And yes, Mr. Underdog Painting, I put on the wings correctly, or as Andy from Peninsula Painting pointed out. He's like, put on the wings correctly. I was like, bro, I've been modeling for many years. I know to put the wings on correctly, my friend. My friend. There it is. It just sinks right into. Look at that. Build quality. Whoop. I love that. I absolutely adore that. And look at that. It looks great. Look at that. I wanted to fly it around the room. And actually, when I finished building this model, I actually literally took it around the room and acted like it was a plane and like made all these noise and stuff like that. It was great. It was great. All right, time to seal up these beautiful doors with some rockets, because everything is cooler with some rockets, right? I mean, at least that's my philosophy. Everything is cooler with some rockets. That should be a theme of mine. Hey. How you doing? How you doing? Everything is cooler with some rockets. Oh yeah, that's right. It is cooler with some rockets, isn't it? Oh, good golly. Alrighty, so those rockets, or those actually magnetized pieces right there, can fit just about any weapon loadout, but I do like to use those missiles. Time to put on the front wings, which is pretty cool that it has two wings, and it's basically a Viking boat plane thingy me bobby. I don't know what else to call it. Viking boat plane thingy bobby. This is exactly the appropriate word for it. It looks great. It looks great with the wings. I really think it adds so much to the model. So, yep. Definitely. Alright, now time to work on the base. That's right. Model is complete. It's time to work on the base. Nothing says my base thinks works than just plain plastic. No, do it up, man. So I'm using these rubric marines, and I actually got these rubric marines not because I bought them, but because my friend of mine, he wanted a Blood Bowl team painted up. It's all Zinch, so I have to paint up some Zangorns this summer. So that's really important that I get that to that. And the reason why I say this summer is because I'm a teacher, so I get summers off, and that means I have time. to paint. Hopefully I get pretty busy around here, so I would love to have some time to paint, and I really go to town with it, you know. Here's that base. So everything is base coated black, and now I'm going to do some gray, and I figured heavy blue gray would be as good as any gray. I'm just going to hit the tips of things with the airbrush, and actually I'm going to mix some white in there just to really make it pop. Why not some white with some, and there it is. There it is. We just kind of highlighted it around and all that good stuff. So they're asking me if I want to do some shading with it, and I do. I use shade through an airbrush. Using shade through an airbrush actually builds up a gradient, and it's really cool. You just have to try it on something. It's like it works like a paint, but it's translucent, so it's pretty cool, and it gets those colors that are so hard to replicate. Alrighty, so next up, I primed the shoulders, and now I'm just getting some white in there just to add that contrast, get that value sketch in there. It just really helps out. Yep. Alrighty, so again, getting all the pieces done of the rubric marine, and making sure that there's some highlights and some contrast, because I think it's really important to add that to your miniature, having that contrast there, and just building it up. Looks great. Looks really great. And you notice I'm using pill bottles. I like the pill bottles. They do have the Citadel handles, but I don't want to paint on them, so I usually just wind up using the pill bottles for most of this stuff. Now for Shadespire, I tend to use the Citadel holder. Alright, time for some turquoise blue, because A, I love the color, and B, I really love the color. And there you go. There's no rhyme to this madness. There is no. It's fun though. Yeah, just wisping out that turquoise, and it looks great. It really does. And it's quick and easy, like a dirty way to do it. Just a quick, easy, and dirty way to paint your 40K miniatures. Just paint them there and have the highlights undershaded and go. That's it. Go, go, go. Speed painters unite, I guess. Although I'm not really a speed painter. I do speed paint Reaper Bones because I don't care. That's all. I really don't care how the Reaper Bones come out. Alright, time to mix it up with some metallics. I'm using gold, some paper metal, and some copper, only because it's going to add some depth to it. I'm going to do the edge highlighting here and just the edges with that mixture, which definitely helps out. Wow. I can't believe we're already to the base. I mean, it's pretty cool. You know, thank you so much for coming along. Like, if you're still watching, you're amazing. You really are. Thank you. Thank you so, so much. Most people don't see the video to the end. It really doesn't. But if you do, that means it was worth watching. Alright, getting back to that base. Gotta put our lovely pieces onto that base and make sure it looks hecka cool. So let's just dry fit first, because I dry fit everything first. Measure twice, cut once kind of thing. And just playing around with the location of things and having some fun and just putting things around without any glue or anything like that. Just setting them. And it turns out to look really, really good. And I'm very, very happy. And, you know, there's so many things. All the things, right? Alright, now time to get that winter mixture, and what we'll do is going to put that on the base and spread it around. I've done a tutorial on how to do the winter mixture with baking soda and some glitter glue and some, well, they say snow from Army's Workshop, and of course some baking soda. And there you go. You do have yourself some glue, and I do mix it up in a cup, a disposable one, so there you go. Looking great, really looking great here. And you know, I think I should just close up. Let's close up on this. There it is. There it is. There are all the colors and everything else. Now all we have to do now is add some charred stone to the mix. Charred stone is my preferred color for Space Wolf bases. Now you can use any color you want, honestly. I just use charred stone from Minotaur because there you go. That's it. There's no real reason for it because I never calculated it. Well, I'm really happy you joined me for this journey. You're amazing. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you on the outro. Well, there it is, all painted up. Stormwolf ready to battle. I hope you liked this video, and if you like this video, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time on the Miniatures Paintbrush.